What's up, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Fourth and Wine. And if you're just tuning in for the first time, welcome. If you're a returning listener, thank you so much for your continued support. But for those who are new, let me tell you a little bit about this podcast. So, I'll be talking Eagles football from the perspective of a fan, from the perspective of a woman, and every single week I will be pairing every game, every podcast with my wine of the week. So, we got a lot to talk about today. It was the season opener, NFL kickoff, and a lot has transpired over the last few days. So keep listening. You're checking out Fourth and Wine. All right. So this week, we are going to be pairing the Eagles' victory and the start to the NFL season with a sparkling wine. Now, this was one of the wines that our good friend Monty, showed us for my wine tasting, which was back a few weeks ago before season kickoff. So if you missed the wine tasting, maybe next time, who knows. But it was a really good time, the wine tasting. We got to try different variety of wines. Monty shared her knowledge of wine, gave us a little wine education, and opened our palate to some new wines. So it was pretty cool. It was a good time. And we talked football throughout the wine tasting. It was such a unique experience. So if you missed it, hopefully you can make it to the next one. But the wine that we are going to be drinking today is a sparkling from that wine tasting. It's a cava, and it is Sojourner Barcino. And this is a brut cava. And guess what? It is local to Philly. It is local to Philly. We got this bottle. Monty picked this one out, and we got it from Jet Wine Bar, which is really cool, local in the city. But cava, the grape variety itself, is native to Spain. If you want to hear about some of the other wines that we had at the wine tasting, feel free, go to my Instagram at For the Bird Sports and check out my posts. I have a list of all the wines we tried that day, but we're gonna try this one again today. So it's from the local wine bar, Jet Wine Bar in Philly, and Cava typically has some like pretty interesting notes. It is very acidic, bubbly, like a sparkling wine is. But let's check it out. So when you're tasting and trying to taste a wine, first you want to look at the color. You want to look at the wine. Like, so let's see. You want to tilt the glass a little bit. I probably have too much in this glass, but that's fine. You want to tilt, look at it, check out the color. This is like a golden yellow wheat color. And there are tons of bubbles. So this is very acidic. It's high in acidity. And then next, you want to swirl it just a little bit. And you want to sniff. Mm. So this wine has a lot of, I think it's pretty fruit forward, if you ask me. It smells like lemon, like apple. Let's give it a little taste. Then you want to taste it. Woo! It is definitely bubbly. It leaves your mouth watering afterwards. Usually wines that are high in acidity, high in acid, they keep your mouth watering. And it's like such a refreshing drink, you know? I feel like this has some fruit, green, apple, fruit notes. And cava is made, which I learned from Monty, through the same process as champagne. When you're drinking a sparkling wine that's high in acidity, it is good to drink it chilled. So I pulled this one out of the fridge. You want to chill it around 50 degrees Fahrenheit, but a cava and this sparkling wine, because it is high in acidity, it pairs really well with salty foods, fatty and oily foods, but ultimately pair it with whatever you want or pair it with nothing at all. So I would probably have like fried chicken or like a seasoned fish, like if you fry fish or shrimp or anything like that, just to balance it out. Because the saltiness kind of balances out the acidity, it makes the wine seem less acidic. It brings out the fruit flavors, it gives the wine a little bit more body. And that's just typical for pairing something that's salty with a sparkling. But it is really good. So if you're ever in the city and down on South Street, check out Jet Wine Bar. They have this cava there. And also they have a ton of other wines that you can try. And it's a very cute wine bar. Just sit, try the menu, ask them what they recommend, and just open your palate and have a good time. It's a great place to go. But anyway, let's get into this Eagles football. We're going to toast to the win against the Cowboys. The Eagles beat the Cowboys 24-20 at home at the Link season opener. And it was such a good time. I actually went down there for the game. You know, I took off work and got to reapply. And if I'm being honest, I feel like everyone else took off too. Like it was too many people outside. I went out in the morning trying to run my errands. Everybody was outside on Thursday, just enjoying the day, I guess. Uh, I always wonder. I'm like, what do you do that you get to be off of work today when I'm out in public? And it's like they probably do the same thing I do, and just took the day off. But anyway, I had such a good time. I went to and attended the Black Girls Love Football tailgate. And when I tell you it was a good time, the food was good, the vibes were high, and it was so nice to. They had giveaways. We got like a clear bag. They gave us like a lip gloss, a cute hat. It was such a good time. And outside of that, it was so good to like meet and hang out with other women that love football, that are passionate about the game, understand the game, and really like take it seriously and are like true fans. It's sometimes I feel like it's hard to find my community, and then you realize the community is right there. You live in Philly, one of the biggest sports cities in the freaking world. It's people here. It is women here that love football and they have the same interest in you. So it was such a good time. So shout out to Black Girls Love Football for throwing the home opener tailgate. But it was a good time. So once we got inside the game, we watched the banner drop ceremony, which was cool, just like it was cute, whatever. And the Eagles weren't on the field during that banner drop ceremony. And, a lot of people had a lot of takes about them not being out on the field. Particularly, I guess, because I follow this page, I saw a lot of their opinions about it. They claimed that it was just so performative, yada, yada, yada. And, like, that's their opinion. But ultimately, who cares? Who cares that they weren't on the field? Who cares that they didn't want to come out? Who cares if Nick Sirianni was like, oh, I didn't even know it was a banner drop ceremony? Like, who cares? Who cares? Who cares? I don't like. It's just not like a big enough thing for me to give my opinion on, which I feel like people give their opinion on every little thing, and sometimes it's not necessary. But it was such a good time. I had so much fun leading up to the game and during. But once kickoff started, things got a little. And let's talk a little bit about that. So, kickoff, special teams running down the field. And unfortunately, during the kickoff play, right after, Ben Van Sumeren got injured and had to be carted off the field. So he is now placed on IR. I hope that he gets better and gets better soon. But that means there's a roster spot open. So the Eagles signed just yesterday, 2 days ago. What's today? Saturday? Yesterday? Zadarius Smith. And for all my girls, y'all know who man that is? Cash Dolls. I learned that. I recently learned that. So now that's lit. So shout out to Cash Doll. But now the game's gonna be lit. Cash Doll gonna be at the link, repping for the girlies. I'm sure she's gonna look cute, have all her outfits and stuff. So that's so exciting. But now we got Zadarius Smith. So after that game on Thursday, Howie and the rest of his team went back to the board and said, you know what? We need an edge. We need something. But Zadarius Smith is now part of the 53-man roster. Surprised he wasn't signed to a team sooner. Uh, Also, before kickoff, before things even got started, just a few minutes into the game, we had what everybody is talking about: Jalen Carter spitting on Dak. Now, they were at the line. Jalen Carter on defense, Dak Prescott, his offensive line, lining up. And while I was at the game, I saw some commotion going on the field, but I'm like, they just talking smack. That's what guys do. They play football, they talk smack. And then I noticed after the commotion, Jalen got an unsportsmanlike conduct. Then I peeped he was getting ejected. Like, it didn't even register that his unsportsmanlike conduct meant he was getting ejected. But I get on social media and discover that unfortunately, Jalen Carter spit on Dak Prescott. So, Dak Prescott, Cowboys quarterback, I will say this: the Cowboys don't have to be your favorite team. I don't like the Cowboys, and that's true about any Eagles fan. You can ask them. It's always Cowboys, okay? Always. But spitting on someone is insane, bro. Like, that is insane. Growing up, my grandmother and my grandfather, even my mom, they always taught me, like, spitting on someone is the most disrespectful thing you can do. Means you think they are nothing. They are the lowest of the low. And I feel like growing up, being black, coming from a black family, being a black woman, the idea of being spat on was something that they were like, bro. It was growing up in the South. It was something that was racially motivated at times, where it's like you just think someone's beneath you, the dirt on the ground, they aren't even worth the saliva in your mouth. You can call, like, growing up, you could call me a name. You could say the worst things to me, say anything about my family, like, say whatever you want. It's two things you never do. Don't put your hands on nobody, and don't spit on anyone. And I hope Jalen Carter learns from this. I hope there's guys in the locker room that are saying to him, like, hey, bro, that wasn't cool. Now, I saw all the aftermath online about Dak, starting it and spitting at Jalen Carter or spitting on the ground at his feet. And that's wild too, bro. That is wild as well. Like, don't spit at anyone, but spitting on someone, like, I don't care. It just doesn't fly with me. Cowboys are not, like, that is not okay. But I'm not holding a grudge against Jalen Carter. I think it'll be fine. He'll grow from it. He's apologized, and you know it's time for everyone to move on. Dak also, like, don't spit at anyone. Like, these are grown men, y'all. Like, younger than me, but grown men. So Jalen Carter spat a word? Yeah. Jalen Carter spat on Dak Prescott and then was ejected from the game, which was the first of many penalties on Thursday night. So, in addition to Jalen Carter's unsportsmanlike conduct, the penalties killed us. So, we gifted the Cowboys 6 first downs off of penalties, 9 total penalties throughout the game that cost us 110 yards. Now, let me put this in perspective for y'all. 110 yards. The playing field, so from the start of each end zone, is 100 yards. We gifted them the entire length of the field and gave them, like, pretty much, you gave them a return touchdown, essentially. Like, that is a lot of yardage to lose, especially on the first game playing a division rival who's going to bring it. Like, they're going to bring it. We just really got to tighten up. Nolan Smith, and I don't necessarily agree with all of the penalties that were given. I was pissed in the stands. But Nolan Smith, I think, got a taunting penalty and then Jalen Carter's, of course, his unsportsmanlike conduct. Quinyon Mitchell with the defensive pass interference penalty. They were just racking them up. We've got to get tighter. It was a very sloppy game, but it was the first one of the season. So I'm going to give grace. But it was sloppy. 9 penalties, 110 yards is insane. And that is not how you win a game. But we did. That is not how you consistently win a game. Because you're going to meet your match one day. Now for offense. There's been so much talk about in the offseason about Jalen Hurts and whether or not he could throw the ball and, whether or not this is a passing offense and all this other stuff. Jalen can throw the ball. I don't think there's any question about that. But Thursday wouldn't have proven his case in the sense that he did not target his 2 main wide receivers. And that is A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. It was not a great night for either of them. I think A.J. Brown got 1 target, and that has been the main topic of conversation. So according to PFF, A.J. Brown was open on 12 routes. Now, I looked at a couple highlights and tried to rewatch a few of the moments from the game. And I do see A.J. Brown open in some situations. However, I think there are also moments where the window is a little tight for a throw. So maybe in Jalen Hurts' defense, it might have been the best decision not to throw in his direction for fear of turning over the ball or whatever the case may be. Maybe there just was someone else a lot more open than AJ in that moment. I don't know. But what I will say is that last season started off in a similar fashion. And I feel like every season people talk about Jalen Hurts and talk about A.J. Brown, talk about their relationship. After a while, it's a little like tiring. Like they win. And I'm tired of having the conversation. But, it is what it is. But Jalen does have to get A.J. the ball. You cannot have your number 1 wide receiver with one target in a whole game. You can't have your number 2 either. However, Jalen Hurts did manage to find Jahan Dotson, the number 3, for 51 yards. Jahan Dotson for the gain. And I think Jalen kind of viewed a lot of his decision-making on Thursday based on what he thought was best, what he thought was going to win the game, what he thought was going to protect the team, what he thought was the best options at the time. I still think Jalen Hurts is a top 10 QB, and I'm not getting in that conversation again. You want to hear about that? Go to episode 1 of this second season. But Jalen Hurts put the team on his back. Whenever things don't seem to be going to plan, one thing Jalen Hurts is going to do is do it himself. And I joke because I'm like, whenever Jalen says, F y'all, I'm going to do it myself, it might not be a good start to the season. But, Jalen Hurts had 14 carries, 2 rushing touchdowns. I mean, 51-yard dart to Jahan Dotson. This is a top 10 QB to me. It just might not always look how people expect it to look. But I think, the opportunity is there, the growth is there. It's game one. You get out there, you fill it out, and so be it. So be it. So be it. Now on to our defense. I think a good part of our defense on Thursday. Jahad Campbell. Now Jahad Campbell is a rookie, drafted 2025, played at Bama. Jahad is a very versatile player, and with Nakobe Dean being injured and still not, at least not playing for the next 3 weeks, Jahad has really had to step up. During training camp, he was given a lot to handle, according to Vic. He put a lot on his plate. But I think Jahad Campbell and Zach Bond are outstanding. Honestly, I think there's a lot of potential for Jahad. Jahad had 3 tackles, 1 pass defended. And in the game, his tackle caused a strip sack. Sorry, not a strip sack. Caused a strip tackle that led to Quinyon's fumble recovery. So thank you, Miles Sanders, who fumbled the ball. Which Miles Sanders, he's had fumbles before. We know Miles Sanders very well here in Philly. But shout out to Miles Sanders. Good luck with the Cowboys. Not too much luck against us, though. But I'm excited to see how Jahad continues to develop throughout this season. His first game, I thought he looked great. And I think it's a combination of him, his work ethic, and just being the talent that he is, but also with Vic. Vic Fangio, I feel like, is a sucker for the basics. Like, what are the fundamentals? Do you know how to tackle? Do you know how to cover? And I feel like he just keeps it simple and plain, which is good for a rookie coming in who can be molded, who is used to maybe something a lot more simple than a lot of these complex offenses. I feel like when Vic Fangio was coming from Florida, coming from the Miami Dolphins, there was a lot of chatter around him. It was just like a lot of bad news with him coming to Philly and like how the players don't like him and all this other stuff. And I mean, when you winning, your players probably like you. But I can't speak on what happened in Miami. But it's evident that I think he is doing a very good job at preparing these young guys, these rookies, and analyzing that maybe these players should be put in these positions. And I think him and his team, are doing a great job at that. So I can't wait to see how Jahad develops and gets better over the course of the season. Now, Jahad looked great. There were some parts of that defense that, what should I say? There were some parts of the defense that were a little lackluster, to say the least. Now, that cornerback 2 spot has been the topic of discussion throughout the offseason and even more so after Thursday. With Darius Slay leaving and going to, where did he go? Pittsburgh. With Darius Slay leaving, I kind of assumed that they'd maybe keep Isaiah Rodgers. I'm not sure what happened there or what amounts Isaiah Rodgers were looking for, but Isaiah Rodgers has moved on and is now playing with the Vikings. So now we no longer have our 1 or our 2 at that cornerback 2 spot. And while Quinyon has come in and has been doing a very good job at CB1, the CB2 is still like, who is going to be the guy? Who's going to be the guy? The Eagles in the offseason, signed Adoree Jackson, Jacorian Bennett. And Adoree Jackson was our starter on Thursday opposite of Quinyon. And here's a few things. Adoree Jackson, 29, used to play for the Giants. And here's a few of his stats. He had 7 targets, 5 receptions for 103 yards, 20.6 yards per carry, and five, five first downs allowed. It was not going well for Adoree Jackson, and they were right at him all night long. Now, afterwards, Adoree, he mentioned, he gave himself like a C average for his performance. And I'm not as a fan, I'm like, it's an F, you know? But also, I'm a hard grader on myself. So I know when, like, I judge myself hard. So I would expect that he's doing the same. He going back and he going to watch the tape. But Adoree Jackson, that, honey. I don't know if it was a C. It maybe a C, maybe a C minus, D plus. 103 yards. Opposite of him, Quinyon had 9 targets, 4 catches for 30 yards, 7.5 yards per carry. And at one point during the game, I'm yelling, "Yo, swap him out, put your Korean Bennett in," and they did. He played a total of 7 snaps, 6.7 yards per carry, 3 receptions, and he allowed 20 yards. So they both struggled on their first night out. Now, granted, they came into a new system. There's a lot possibly to learn, things you gotta get acclimated with, but like they could not handle George Pickens and CeeDee Lamb. They struggled, and all Dak did was throw in their direction. Now, I will say there was the highlight moment from Quinyon of the fumble recovery. So shout out to him. But there were also some moments where I feel like, he could have caught the ball, we could have intercepted, but thank God we got that turnover. But also the Cowboys gifted the corners, a nice little present as well. CeeDee Lamb dropped the ball. So his drop honestly probably saved us the game. But all in all, it was a great game. There's a lot that the Eagles can do better. And I'm hoping going into next week 2, when we play the Chiefs in Kansas, that we make some adjustments and we make them quickly. Few things from the game that didn't go too well. Obviously, our cornerbacks. There wasn't much pressure on Dak. I think we got 1 total sack, which is probably why Howie and the team went out and decided to sign Zadarius Smith. You got to get AJ involved. You got to get your number 1 some targets. But the good things, Jalen Hurts still put the team on his back, got 2 rushing touchdowns. Jake Elliott, he looked good. Special teams, I feel like there's always room for improvement. I feel like those guys play like really hard, and I'm thinking specifically about Sidney Brown. But I think those guys, all in all, play really hard, but there's always room for improvement there. But next week, playing the Chiefs, you gotta be a lot cleaner. The amount of penalties that we got, it's not gonna fly. Not gonna fly. Now, next week when we play the Chiefs, they look like a bad team yesterday in Brazil. Horrible team. They look like a horrible team. Now, I'll say this. Their loss yesterday to the Chargers, they coming. I don't think they're going to take that lightly. I think they're going to come with a lot of fight, a lot of grit, and it'll be a lot of fuel. And I don't think we should go in underestimating them because they were beat by the Chargers. Because as much as I don't necessarily like to say Herbert is, a top 10 quarterback, I think he has the potential to be, but he just doesn't win enough, in my opinion. I think he still has a lot to prove in the winning category. But I think he played really well yesterday. That team looked sharp. Him, Makai Becton, like he had the protection, okay? Speaking of Makai, miss him greatly. Um, but we've got to come hard because what else is a little nerve wracking going into week 2 is that Landon has been fighting injuries over the last few weeks. So he got surgery a few weeks later, 2 weeks later, he was already back out practicing with the team. And then on Thursday, Landon left the game with a back injury. And there's not much details on that yet, whether or not he'll play, whether or not like he's gotten any tests. At least I haven't seen anything as of yet as we're recording this. But we're going to need that line. Like that line with Tyler Steen, like it just gets a lot smaller. And I feel like they not as big and bad as maybe we were last year, especially missing Makai Becton. That was a big guy to have in the middle. So I'm hoping Landon is good. I'm hoping he can come back. Fred came back from the Jaguars. We re-signed Fred a couple weeks ago, so he's a good addition to have back. But I'm hoping Landon can pull through. Maybe it's just like a minor back injury where, he gets some treatment and gets back on his feet. But we're going to need him against Chris Jones, that defense. We're going to need him so Jalen can get the ball to A.J. Brown. He got time because Jalen's going to need time. All in all, I'm still excited. September 14th, we playing the Chiefs. I think it'll be a win, but check out my quick slants. I'm gonna tell y'all what we really need to do to bring home that win. Check out my Instagram. But yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited for the 14th. I'm excited to get the season going. I'm excited to see what adjustments that the Eagles are going to make throughout the season. But thank you for tuning in. Don't forget, if you're ever out down South Street, you in Philly, you local, go by Jet Wine Bar, grab yourself a cava, Sojourner, Barcino, cava, very sparkly, good celebratory wine. And until next time, y'all, peace out.